These are the stories making the headlines at this hour. South Korea and the U.S. have once again condemned Russia and North Korea's arms deals for violating UN Security Council resolutions and threatening the Korean Peninsula. Russia insists it's false information. The Bank of Korea kept its key interest rate steady again at 3.5%. The market expects a rate cut likely in the third quarter. High inflation and rising household debt will be key factors affecting the decision. The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission has approved Bitcoin to be included in exchange-traded funds, allowing the cryptocurrency into mainstream finance. Good afternoon. We start with rising voices of concern over arms deals between Russia and North Korea. The U.S. has condemned Russia's use of North Korean weapons in Ukraine for violating UN Security Council resolutions. South Korea says the arms deal also threatens the Korean Peninsula. Russia denies all allegations. Our Shin Se-byuk has our top story.
The U.S. during a UN Security Council meeting on Wednesday condemned the weapons trade between North Korea and Russia, saying their, quote, abhorrent moves are targeting Ukrainians.
It's abhorrent that a permanent member of the UN Security Council is flagrantly violating Council resolutions to attack another UN member state.
The deputy U.S. ambassador also said that Russia is expected to use more missiles to destroy critical infrastructure and kill people in Ukraine. Russia, however, denied all allegations, saying the U.S. is spreading false information.
The U.S. seems to be spreading information that is wrong without going through the trouble of checking this beforehand.
South Korea also accused North Korea of using Ukraine as a test site for its nuclear-capable weapons, and added insights gained could lead to further arms exports by Pyongyang.
It can be further encouraged to export ballistic missiles to other countries and rake in new revenue to further finance its illegal nuclear and ballistic missile programs.
He also added that such moves pose a serious threat to the Korean Peninsula. Wang's remarks came amid speculation that the regime might have sold new types of tactical guided missiles to Russia. South Korea's Defense Minister Shin Won-sik, in an interview with Yonhap News Agency on Wednesday, said that current speculation is in addition to previous allegations against Pyongyang of supplying short-range ballistic missiles to Moscow. Meanwhile, the NATO-Ukraine Council held a video conference on Wednesday following a slew of Russian airstrikes against Ukraine. During the meeting, NATO allies strongly condemned Russia's escalation in terms of airstrikes, as well as Moscow's use of weapons sourced from North Korea and Iran. They also pledged to provide Ukraine with major military, economic, and humanitarian aid, stating that their 2024 plans are worth, quote, billions of euros. Shin Se-byuk, Arirang News.
Washington says there's no indication of military cooperation between North Korea and Hamas, which contrasts Seoul's assessment that North Korean-made weapons are being used by Hamas. According to National Security Council Coordinator John Kirby on Wednesday, there's nothing to suggest some sort of cooperation militarily between Hamas and North Korea. The comments come after South Korea's National Intelligence Service confirmed the Voice of America report last week that Hamas fighters have used an F-7 rocket-propelled grenade launcher made by the North. Kirby also commented on military cooperation between Pyongyang and Moscow, saying Washington is watching very closely. The U.S. and the U.K. are ready to hit back against Yemen's Houthi rebels after their militaries foiled the group's largest attack yet on the Red Sea. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken warned Houthis of consequences upon continued attacks. Lee Seung-jae reports.
Both the United States and the United Kingdom said Wednesday that they could take military action against Yemen's Houthi rebels after they repelled the group's largest attack yet on the Red Sea. Responding to the attacks, carrier-based jets and warships on Tuesday night shot down 21 drones and missiles launched by Houthis. The Houthis say they targeted a U.S. ship that they said was providing support to Israel as they repeatedly claimed that any merchant vessels linked to Israel would be attacked in protest against Israeli offensives in Gaza. The latest Houthi attack was the 26th such attack on commercial shipping in the Red Sea since November 19th. During his trip to the Middle East, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said Wednesday that there will be consequences for continued Houthi attacks in the Red Sea.
Again, all I can tell you is that, as we've made clear, and many other countries made clear, there'll be consequences for the Houthis' actions. We've also repeatedly tried to make clear to Iran, as other countries have as well, that the support that they're providing to the Houthis, including for these actions, needs to stop.
Meanwhile, Blinken on Wednesday met Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas in the Israeli-occupied West Bank following meetings with Israeli leaders. During the meeting, the two discussed post-war plans for Gaza, including steps towards the establishment of a Palestinian state. The U.S. envoy also discussed efforts to minimize civilian harm in the Gaza Strip and increase the delivery of aid inside the war-torn region, expressing support for a Palestinian state and encouraging administrative reforms of the PA. President Abbas told Blinken that no Palestinians should be displaced from Gaza or the West Bank. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Hamas has issued a warning that they cannot guarantee the safety of the hostages if Israel does not agree to a comprehensive ceasefire. That is according to the Times of Israel, citing a spokesperson for Hamas on Wednesday. Meanwhile, as tensions rise on the Israel and Lebanon border, Israel's chief of staff addressed his troops, saying there is no village or fortress in Lebanon they cannot dismantle. Meanwhile, Gaza's health ministry said that since the outbreak of the war on October 7th, over 23,000 people have been killed in the Gaza Strip, 1% of its entire population. The South Korean government has turned in a set of written questions for the Universal Periodic Review of China. That is a system under the UN that calls for each member state to undergo a peer review of its human rights records every 4.5 years. That's according to Seoul's new foreign minister, Cho Tae-yeol, on Thursday, a day after President Yoon appointed him as the country's top diplomat. The fourth UPR review of China is set to take place on January 23rd in Geneva, where member states are allowed to ask questions about the human rights situation either on site or by submitting questions in written form in advance. This is the first time that South Korea has submitted the advanced questions for China's UPR review. There is interest over whether the issue of China forcibly repatriating North Korean defectors will be on the agenda. The Bank of Korea has kept its key interest rate steady again at 3.5%. The market expects a rate cut likely in the third quarter. High inflation and rising household debt will be key factors affecting the decision. Shin Ha-young reports.
The Bank of Korea's monetary policy stance of freezing the key interest rate continued into the new year. Following the first Monetary Policy Committee meeting of 2024, the central bank on Thursday announced that it will keep the rate unchanged at 3.5%.
Although there's a continued slowdown in the inflation rate, it still remains at a high level, and there's significant uncertainty in the outlook. Therefore, we have decided to keep a tightened monetary policy and continue to assess the policy situation both domestically and externally.
This is the 8th consecutive time that the BOK has decided to freeze the rate. The base rate was raised to 3.5% in January of last year and has remained at that level since February, following 10 consecutive rate hikes to tackle inflation. Analysts say the BOK sees no need to raise the rate as it is unlikely that the U.S. will further tighten its monetary policy. Concerns about high interest rates due to risks in real estate project financing are also thought to be factors that have deterred the BOK from further rate hikes. Real estate project financing involves using loans to fund real estate development projects with the promise of future project revenue as repayment. Higher interest rates and increasing construction costs have led to project delays, creating challenges for firms to repay their project financing loans. Taeyong Engineering and Construction, the 16th largest of those firms in Korea in terms of construction capacity, applied for a debt restructuring program late last month due to a liquidity shortfall as the company struggles to repay real estate project financing loans. Cutting rates immediately would be difficult. The country's inflation rate has stayed above 3% as of December, above the bank's target level of 2%. Also, rising household loans up for the 9th straight months in December are a factor to consider before cutting the rate. As the U.S. Fed indicated 3 rate cuts in 2024, the market's focus is now on the timing of the BOK's rate cut. The anticipation that the Fed may cut the rates as early as March has somewhat diminished amid a robust job market. If the labor market overheats, wages may rise, leading to increased spending and potentially triggering inflation. With that situation in mind, experts forecast a BOK rate cut as early as July, with Fed rate cuts expected in June. 신하영, Arirang News.
The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission has approved Bitcoin to be included in exchange-traded funds, allowing the cryptocurrency into mainstream finance. Ian Jin tells us what it means.
On Wednesday, the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission approved the first U.S.-listed exchange-traded funds, or ETFs, to track Bitcoin. According to a notice on its website, the 11 applications that were approved include BlackRock, ARK Investments, Fidelity, Invesco, and VanEck, and some are expected to begin trading as early as Thursday. The crypto industry has been beset by a string of scandals recently, but this move comes as a game changer for Bitcoin, as it will offer institutional and retail investors exposure to what is the world's largest cryptocurrency without directly holding it. Global market strategist at eToro, Ben Laidler, said that this ultimately will lead to more people owning crypto.
So I think it's another key step forward in the development of what is still by far the youngest, smallest, and most retail investor dominated of all the asset classes. And it's happening in what is by far the world's biggest capital market.
Analysts say that a heated battle between the spot Bitcoin ETFs is expected, and success will likely center around fees and liquidity. Some issuers are expected to undercut their own fees in the new filings this week, while for short-term speculators, liquidity could be more important than fees, which would make it easier for investors to quickly buy and redeem shares at prices that closely track the actual price of Bitcoin. After a decade of rejecting Bitcoin ETFs over concerns of how they could be easily manipulated, this green light marks a U-turn for the Securities and Exchange Commission, while its chair Gary Gensler remains a fierce skeptic of the crypto industry. Bitcoin ETFs could pave the way for other innovative crypto products in the future. 이은진, Arirang News.
China topped global car exports last year, overtaking Japan due to a boom in electric vehicle shipments. According to the China Passenger Car Association on Wednesday, the country exported 4.76 million vehicles from January to November last year, which is a 60% increase compared to the same period last year. The decline from 1 million annual car shipments in 2020 is largely due to a surge in eco-friendly car shipments, as Tesla has its Chinese factory as its primary export hub. Increased exports to Russia, which is facing sanctions from the West, has also led to a rapid increase. The South Korean national football team arrived in Qatar on Thursday morning as it aims to win its first Asian Cup in 64 years. So far, South Korea has reached the final 4 times but hasn't clinched the Asian Cup since its second title in 1960. This year's squad includes key Europe-based superstar players like Son Heung-min, Kim Min-jae, Lee Kang-in, and Hwang Hee-chan. Grouped with Jordan and Malaysia in Group E, Team Korea will play their first match against Bahrain on January 15th. The Asian Cup kicks off on Friday with the final on February 10th. Seoul City has hosted its annual Korea Image Awards, recognizing those making contributions to South Korea's global image. Among them was Hyundai's premium car brand Genesis, recognized for global success. Our Uni reports.
The Korea Image Awards ceremony took place in Seoul on Wednesday. At the annual event, the Korea Image Communication Institute honors both domestic and international figures and organizations that have notably contributed to enhancing South Korea's global reputation. The Korea Image Stepping Stone Award was awarded to Genesis, Hyundai Motor Group's premium car brand, for promoting Korea's global image and prestige through its special brand experience. Last September, Genesis celebrated a significant milestone, having sold its 1 millionth car 7 years and 10 months after the brand's launch.
Providing the most comfortable and safe form of transportation in the world is always our priority, so we always try our best to bring new technologies and perfect quality.
World-renowned Swiss architect Mario Botta was presented with the Korea Image Stepping Stone Bridge Award in recognition of his contribution to introducing Korea to the world by designing award-winning landmarks including the Liu Museum of Art and the Gangnam Gyobo Tower, both located in Seoul. Another honoree was the globally acclaimed opera tenor Im Hyung-ju, who received the Korea Image Capstone Award for his achievements in the music industry, which has led him to be called the pioneer of Asian opera. Since his debut in 1998, he has set a record for having 19 out of his 20 solo albums reach #1 on Korea's classical album sales chart within a week of release, including his most recent album released in November 2023.
While I still have much room for improvement, I've been very lucky to receive many awards, but this award, named a capstone, is especially an honor for me.
The next winner was Laure Maffo, who moved to Korea from France as she fell in love with pansori, Korea's traditional musical storytelling. She received the Korea Image Flower Stone Award for promoting pansori not only in Korea and France, but also to the world. Each year, opinion leaders from a variety of countries gather at the ceremony with the ultimate aim of strengthening cultural bonds and promoting vibrant exchanges within our global community. Lee Eun-hee, Arirang News.
Let's take a look at the latest news in the world now. In Ecuador, a 60-day state of emergency is in place with updates on the chaotic outbreak of violence. President Daniel Noboa said Wednesday that his country is in a state of war against terrorism and vowed to continue the fight. Schools across the country were closed on Wednesday, along with many businesses. Ecuadorian police said the same day that 70 people had been arrested since Monday in incidents including the takeover of a TV station. Authorities also said that more than 100 guards and staff were still being held hostage by prisoners, with violence reported in at least 6 prisons following the escape of Adolfo Macias, the leader of Los Toneros gang, on Sunday. 2 police officers were killed in Guayas province on Tuesday, with explosions reported in several cities. Out of 7 other police officers kidnapped around the country, 3 have been freed. President Noboa says the violence is a reaction to government plans to build a new high-security prison for gang leaders. Taiwan will hold its presidential election on Saturday. Taiwan's foreign minister has said Beijing is trying to influence the election. Foreign Minister Joseph Wu said on Tuesday that China has operated interference efforts in every election since Taiwan was democratized, and that China's global objective is that they want to use Taiwan as a test ground. If they're able to successfully shape the results of Taiwan elections, they will try to apply their tactics on other countries. China has imposed import restrictions on Taiwan and invited local politicians on all expenses paid visits to China, aimed at increasing support for pro-China candidates. Under Taiwan's anti-infiltration laws, its authorities are prosecuting almost 200 Taiwanese local leaders who were invited on the trip. Beijing wants Taiwan's ruling Democratic Progressive Party ousted by the opposition Kuomintang and has said that Saturday's election is a choice between war and peace. Online retail giant Amazon said on Wednesday that it will lay off several hundred employees from its subsidiaries Twitch and Prime Video. The company's internal note, seen by media outlets, said Amazon has identified opportunities to reduce or discontinue investments in certain areas. Live streaming company Twitch disclosed that it will lay off some 500 employees, which is about 35% of its workforce. This follows last year's wave of US tech layoffs, where more than 27,000 jobs were cut by Amazon, alongside Microsoft and Facebook's layoffs of 10,000 employees each, and Google's 12,000 layoffs. Nepalese spiritual leader Ram Bahadur Bamjan, known as Buddha Boy, was arrested late Tuesday local time in Kathmandu on charges of sexual assault of a minor and kidnapping. Police said Wednesday that Bamjan attempted to flee the authorities by jumping from a second-floor window, but was taken into custody. Officials also confirmed that they seized some $250,000 worth of Nepalese and foreign currency from his house during the arrest. 33-year-old Bamjan became famous in Nepal as many believe him to be the reincarnation of Siddhartha Gautama, or Buddha, born in southwestern Nepal 2,600 years ago. Kim Seong, Arirang News.
Good afternoon. A high-quality face mask is a must to protect yourself from a dust storm if you're in western parts of Korea. We're blanketed in high levels of ultrafine dust today with a dust advisory issued. Dust levels will be 2 to 3 times higher than normal all day, and west of Gangwon-do and Gyeongsang-do provinces will see dust levels rising as the day goes on today. We are already getting into mid-January, but it doesn't feel much like it though. Dust mixed with haze is not only blurring the skyline, but also lowering visibility. It is one stuffy day. Daily highs are slightly higher than yesterday, Seoul at 5 degrees, Busan and Jeju see highs of 11 degrees Celsius this afternoon. And unfortunately, more dust will blow in tonight. Temperatures will stay higher than norms, and so will dust levels for the next few days. There could be light snow in mountainous regions late tonight, with another round of wintry precipitation in the forecast for Sunday. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the international weather conditions.
While North Korea is escalating tensions against South Korea lately, it's seemingly making friendly gestures to Japan. Last Friday, Kim Jong-un sent a condolence letter after Japan's earthquake, addressing Prime Minister Fumio Kishida as Your Excellency in a rare occasion. It was the first such letter sent to Japan's PM, and it was sent on the same day as North Korea's maritime shelling against the South. So what does Pyongyang want? Well, most likely a division in Seoul-Washington-Tokyo cooperation, or possibly a dialogue with Tokyo to ask for war compensation and diplomatic normalization. Should that happen, though unlikely, experts say South Korea should actively engage and not be excluded as North Korea intends.